Everybody get Bill? So welcome back. It is still Friday, January 10th. It is now 1:30 PM in the afternoon, and this is the Commerce and Economic Development Committee of the House. We are back. Kevin Moore from IT Services is here to give us a briefing on how to best use our devices.
My understanding, Madam Vice Chair, is that it was a bit of a brief introduction to the office, and then I'm happy to answer any question at any point, whether it's specific to what I'm talking about or anything broad.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you to the committee for inviting me. For those of you who may not know me, you probably all know me at this point or know my staff. My name is Kevin Moore, the director of the Office of Legislative Information Technology for the General Assembly. Oversee the operations and strategic planning, long-range planning, development, design, so on and so forth. We are the sole IT resource for the General Assembly. We are not a shared service among other branches of government. We do not work for the Agency of Digital Services. We work for you. We work for all of you, and we serve the legislature directly. That is our primary focus. Obviously serves constituents as well, but we're more inward-looking of an organization than an outward-looking organization. Make sure I'm looking at my notes correctly here. We maintain, support, design technology systems used in legislative operations, legislative websites, document management systems, your voting systems, legislative tracking system, website. I already touched websites. We do AV setups for sessions, individual meetings, you name it. If it plugs into the wall, that's our world. If it connects to the internet, that's also our world. And we take great pride in trying to make sure that our services are not a barrier to the legislative process. We try to measure our response in minutes and moments, not hours, days, or weeks. Beyond that, let's see here. We maintain existing systems involved in design and development of new technology, improving the efficiency and effectiveness of the legislative process. iPads are a great example of that. When I first came on, oh goodness, 13 and a half years ago, different role at that point. We embarked on the paperless pilot initiative at that point. That was iPad 1. And we rolled it out to a pilot committee, which was House Government Operations at that point in time, during a reapportionment process. And so the volume of content coming in was immense. And so going through, that was an incredibly successful pilot project. We reduced paper operations in that space dramatically. And then all of a sudden wind started, working its way down the hall. And then we were in appropriations and healthcare. And then all of a sudden we were in the entire House come the next session. And then the Senate caught wind. We're like, wait, hey, the House can't have something that the Senate doesn't have. And so all of a sudden that tool that we use to distribute technology tools and resources throughout the environment, Jealousy, quite a powerful one, allowed us to deploy these devices throughout the entire organization. Along with that came more support and buy-in for a more robust wireless network. So we've built out our wireless network since then. We've rolled into more wireless technologies, obviously video boards and 360 cameras and you name it. So it's evolved dramatically over the last 10 years, I'd say. But the organization originally started quite organically, like any other IT organization did back in the late 80s, early 90s. The first person said, that's a computer. I know how to plug it in. And they've since retired and moved on. They actually worked for the Senate office last. But it's just interesting how we've evolved. We came into statute in 2019 as a separate independent office. Beforehand, we were part of the Office of Legislative Counsel, a subdepartment. And that's where I originally was hired. But it made sense to bring us as a central resource to ensure that we were serving everybody equally and effectively. And with that model, we were able to navigate the COVID pandemic quite adeptly for comparison to other legislatures. We were, I don't like tooting our own horn, but tooting it a little bit here. I have an excellent team. We were able to be one of 4 state legislatures that were operational within a week of the broad shutdown. 2 of which already had clear remote and video operations established. So we were really one of 2 at that point. So it was quite a substantial vote. Let's see here. We help legislators and staff track bills, access legislative documents, manage amendments, right? Make sure that everything's moving through the legislative process completely. We try to streamline everything, try to improve transparency. Accessibility is really the word I like to use better. Access to the legislature, right? Transparency is subjective, but access to the legislative process is really where we are. We want to provide as much content that is public to the public as we possibly can. We try to develop resources that can be used in committee, by the committee, by the people that are observing it, by the people that work for you, attorneys, fiscal analysts, so on and so forth, ourselves, and the general public who are watching. All use the same resource and all have access to the same content at the same time so they can follow along. We work closely with legislators, legislative staff, and committees to ensure the technology needs are met. So if at any given point your needs aren't met, please let me know. We, again, take great pride in making sure that we are meeting the needs of the organization. And we will do everything we can to rapidly turn around if there's an issue. If not, we'll provide you the reason why. We'll give you a timeline, and we'll make sure that is implemented according to that time. Let's see. We provide training, one-on-one, small groups, classroom, in your committee, specific to any individual technology, or it could just be a let's work through something together session. Doesn't matter what it is. Wherever you are, we're going to meet you there. We'll make sure that we provide that training to you all. Troubleshooting, ongoing support for specific software that's ours, or maybe just tools that you prefer to use. We'll do our best to help you through those as well. We don't provide every tool. We can't. Otherwise, we'd be buying a lot of individual tools and providing a license for each individual legislator in order to remain equitable. And much of that probably wouldn't get used equally. So happy to provide recommendations at any given point. If you want different accessories to go with iPads, if you want us to help you get connected with individual laptops, a BYOD environment, we're happy to do all sorts of things to bring you along and bring you out. Areas of focus: cybersecurity, data protection, confidentiality. We have in-house cybersecurity professionals. I myself am trained as a certified ethical hacker. We have other folks as well. It's a great conversation starter. I love that. So certified ethical hacker, what does that mean, right? It means I know how to break things in a way that could be used maliciously in order to prevent them from being maliciously broken, if that makes sense. That's a very succinct way of doing it. White hat.
Yeah.
Yes. White hat, gray hat, black hat. What's that?
Real important.
Real important, yes. But at this point in my career, I do rely on my team to do the majority of that, and I provide backup and oversight to that. Let's see, confidentiality. It's not just cybersecurity, but it's confidentiality. So content as it's moving through the legislative process isn't always public. It's not always available for each office to look at, or our office. We love locking ourselves out of stuff. We don't want to see anything more than we absolutely have to. But we make sure that the confidentiality is at least technically appropriate throughout the process. Obviously, there could be things that happen on the paper side. Only so much we can do about that. But we do our best to ensure confidentiality. Protecting the sensitive legislative information, bill data, voting records, other critical materials, and maintaining the integrity of our data. That way, when a member of the public or anybody references our website, they can feel confident that that data is clean, clear, and accurate to the best of our ability. Committed to modernization, always. So if there's something that isn't quite where it needs to be, again, let us know. We also see things from a different perspective, but we also understand we need to be frugal. And we need to make sure that we're doing things according to our budget and according to a longer range plan. Not everything can happen immediately, as much as we want it to at times, and we can't always afford everything. So it's this fine balance between what we want, what we need, what we can afford, and what's kind of a bit of a pipe dream later on down the line. Let's see here. Model that we use as well is incremental improvement. You'll see that a lot when we talk about this. So great example, this room technology again. When we first rolled out Zoom rooms, we were much like many other environments, select boards, things of that nature. We had a single camera sitting on the far side, wide angle shot, didn't quite meet the need. Now we brought in 360-degree cameras, right? They met the need. You see everybody around the table equally at all points in time. Now these are starting to get a little dated too. So we're looking at different 360-degree cameras, and we're going to do a little bit of pilot testing on the mezzanine committee rooms with some newer technology once those come online. If they're successful and budget permits, we'll start rolling it out to other rooms. Microphones. Again, started out with just a single mic in front of the room. Now we have these wonderful microphone pucks in the middle of the room, but we built in redundancy. You have backup systems. If a camera fails, we have another camera in here. If a microphone fails, we have another set of microphones in here. If the speaker outputs fail, we actually have 3 speaker outputs in here to make sure that if a piece of hardware fails, we're able to rapidly recover, bring you back up online, or keep you online, and then repair that offline later on. We don't have a deep backstock at this point because the flood in 23, we were subgrade in our storage area. It wasn't our choice. It's where we were told to be. So we were there. We lost a significant amount of equipment. And being a frugal shop, we're kind of hoarders from time to time. We don't like getting rid of things if it has any kind of value, but that cleaned us out a little bit. We are waiting for our FEMA funds and insurance funds to make it to us, and then we're going to work on some of that back stock. So
Next week's.
something like that. It's not the easiest process to navigate. Let's see, then expanding access to digital tools. We're working on some cool new tools in our office to bring better value add technologies to legislators specifically. One of the things I see as a gap is that you all don't have dedicated staff. Right? You don't have dedicated interns. You don't have your own individual assistants, secretaries, receptionists, things of that nature. So you don't have anybody doing triage for you. You get a huge amount of volume of emails, communications coming in, content from bills and things of that nature. And so we're starting to work on products that will hopefully provide heads up displays and easy access to the content that's most important to you. Because in the databases that we operate, we understand which parties you're part of, right? What political party you're a member of, what committees you're assigned to, what chamber you're assigned to, what bills you sponsored or co-sponsored, right? And then in addition to that, we also know all the other stuff that's happening in the building. So maybe you want to subscribe to a bill and follow it. You might not be a sponsor or co-sponsor, but it's important to you. It's important to your constituency. And you can check that box to subscribe, right? What about submitting a drafting request? We're going to try to centralize that instead of trying to go find the attorneys who are now in a different building as of this year. It's a little bit harder to get to, right? What about attorney-client communications, right? Those are sensitive. They sometimes get lost in your email, or again, with this new remote workforce that we're encountering every day, it's a little bit more difficult to get to them or reach them immediately. So trying to build all of those into a single portal. We will be looking for beta testers in the near future for pieces and parts of it. And we'll kick it out, but we call it Legislative Navigator, right? How to navigate the legislative process. So the way we're kind of envisioning it is, what are the terms and language and terminology that you use today? Bills on the wall, right? Folders, things of that nature. We're trying to use that same terminology. We're trying to create visualizations that match what you already know and use daily, but give it to you in a nice, clean, compact spot, as if you were a legislator that was appointed mid-session on the second year of the biennium, and you have no idea because you didn't hit orientation and you didn't get the value of being able to start that year, and you get thrown into the mix. How do you float? We want to make sure that we provide that for everybody. So that's a beta tester thing later on. Beyond that, we do a lot of things. I don't want to get too deep in the weeds, but I'm happy to answer any questions. We have a staff of 9, including myself this year. 3 dedicated support professionals, one of them being our copy room technician. He's part of our staff as well, Tony Morse. Wonderful resource for you. Please use him. Use him a lot. He will do all sorts of different print products for you. He can do all your town meeting reports if you haven't experienced that report before. He can take care of any kind of prints that you need if these printers aren't meeting your need or they're busy or whatever. Incredible resource, business cards, you name it. Delia Gillen, primary user support specialist. She's also our primary trainer. And then you have Patrick Haig, brand new to our staff this year. He's a dedicated user support specialist. Aaron Crewman, you probably saw him running around a little bit yesterday during the inaugural address. He was bringing the mics out and checking things in the back end to make sure we were operating as we're supposed to. He's also brand new to our team, audiovisual specialist. We have Rain Torres, network security administrator. It keeps me honest when it comes to any kind of security stuff. We're like, got to analyze whether it's, an acceptable risk. And so she and I go back together or back and forth on what's the most appropriate way to approach new issues, emerging issues. Duncan Goss. Duncan Goss has been with us. Oh, goodness. He's been around, I want to say 1988, 89, somewhere around there. Been around for a very long time. He's a systems analyst and business manager for us at this point. Institutional knowledge is incredible. absolutely understands where we came from, how we got to where we are, and where we're going. Does a lot of database work, systems management, and report development for council and JFO. Adam Wood, dedicated web developer, does a ton for our websites and internal intranet pages. Sean Allen, systems administrator primarily, but will also cover down and take care of user support in the event that is necessary. He's the one that comes around and fixes the printer when, it's not communicating. He's the one that comes down and crawls underneath the table if necessary as well. Primarily deals with server infrastructure in the back end. It's a great team. It's a great team to be part of. Happy to answer any questions. Did I leave a gap?
So you mentioned different products on the computer that you offer at 19. So I like using Kofax, PDF Kofax, and it allows me to mark up things. So you guys actually would help tech through some of that if there's something that I'm not.
So if you are unfamiliar with the product that you have, so Kofax PDF is a great product. We actually use them for our scanning solution. They're the manufacturer of one of our scanning products. We're happy to help you at any given point. We can't take it out of your hands, so to speak, because you own the license. We can take the device off your hands for a little bit and try to work through it. But in the event that there's a need to communicate with the product support team, for example, we would help facilitate that and be part of the conversation with you. Can't pay for the product because that's, again, we'd have to provide it for all 180 legislators at that point, and we don't have the budget for that. But we're happy to support anything that you have that is related to your legislative work. Yes. Beyond that, we can also provide recommendations if there's a gap in the types of tools that you're using or resources you need. For example, when we were initially issuing iPads, we would issue a software called iAnnotate PDF. And it was very similar to the Kofax PDF that you're talking about. It allows you to annotate on the PDF document, save and retain your own copy. And it used, I'm probably stretching it a little bit here, WebDAV. WebDAV technology is bidirectional sharing of content. Going too far. It allowed you to receive it off of what we called the legislative service at that point. Get all the new bills, get all the new information. You get to keep your own clean copy of it, but it doesn't impact the original. So yes, we are happy to work with any piece of software, whether it's Mac, Linux, or Windows, and assist along the way. Hopefully that answers your question.
Question about security at home.
Mm-hmm.
So given that our devices can kind of be hooked up to whatever internet, are there any thoughts on best practices for that? Should we be looking at VPNs? And my other thing is I'm hearing something about TP-Link, which I have in my house. Is that a concern?
I'll take them in 3 different pieces. Cybersecurity best practices. So cybersecurity awareness training is something that we want to bring to the legislators themselves. We already do that with staff, but we would love to extend that. It's a online virtual platform. It's called Security Mentor. We partner with actually the executive branch for economies of scale in acquiring the software. Quarterly trainings around cyber hygiene, things of that nature, best practices on how to navigate phishing emails or identify things such as phishing or phishing. So as far as being a legislator, there is nothing different that I would recommend as you in your specific role than I would with any other individual that comes into the building. Always question everything. If you're not expecting it, right, question it, right? You're going to get a lot of content from unsolicited sources. Always have a healthy level of skepticism when you're opening attachments. Email is still the #1 threat vector to an organization such as this. Absolutely, hands down is. Phishing emails come across all the time. If you come across something that you're unsure of, we are happy to screen it for you. We are absolutely happy to screen it for you. You can call us at our help desk line. You can email us at the eHelpDesk email address, ehelpdesk@legislateBTUS. You can then turn around and call me directly. You can email me directly. We are happy to go ahead and take that off your hands, scan it, analyze it, and then kick it back to you, either a safe version of it or say, hey, this was indeed phishing. There are also other tools built into your email client that can give you automatic reporting. Depending, I don't want to go too deep into the weeds. We can always go specific to training, but iOS device.
Mm-hmm.
So on that, if you're using Outlook Mobile for iOS and I think it's the 3 dots when you're in the email, it'll give you the option to report it to us directly. And you don't have to send it further through the mail system, which is, again, another layer of risk. Hopefully that answered the first part of your question. The TP-Link thing, that is very specific to each vulnerability. TP-Link is a consumer brand technology that is often quite vulnerable because most people don't update it. I would encourage you to keep all of your software applications as up to date as you possibly can. And in the event that you have the ability to update firmware, I would also encourage that too. If you have questions or concerns, reach out to your home providers, your internet service providers, and get them to update your equipment. I feel like I missed part of
No,
the
no,
questions.
that's all
Okay.
good. Thanks.
Oh, VPN was the other piece you were talking about.
Oh, VPNs, yeah,
VPNs.
VPNs.
Okay, so
Link is a brand of router, they produce routers.
All sorts of network components.
Yeah.
But let me answer the VPN piece. I myself do use a VPN depending on where I am. In this particular organization, I will say not all public internet connections are created equal. This is probably the safest public network you will ever be part of. And even still, we segregate you on your own version of that. We do a ton of isolation internal to our network segments to make sure that you all are safe while you're using our systems here. If you are ever traveling outside of the continental United States, I do use a VPN. And I route all of that traffic back into a known trusted location, typically the continental United States. Beyond that, you probably don't have a lot of need for VPN in your world, unless you are doing something that is quite sensitive or requires very specific network access. So for example, our remote staff use a VPN that's specific to allow them back into our network and controls that traffic. But from a consumer perspective, not always necessary. You have a lot of security baked into banking applications now, a lot of security baked into taxes. The iPad itself is inherently encrypted as soon as you lock it. That's what that PIN does. It's actually your decryption key, believe it or not. The technology is getting better as far as where it is on a default basis. If you have any specific questions or concerns, again, we can analyze any situation with you and walk through you and give you a recommendation. I will say this, if you are traveling outside of the continental United States, specifically for legislative business, and you're bringing any of your devices with you, chances are they won't work well unless you talk to us first, or they won't work at all unless you talk to us first. So if you find yourself planning to leave, give us a heads up, and we will make sure that you have the appropriate level of security and access once you do leave the continental United States. If you are abroad and you have challenges, we'll make sure that we can support you there too.
Based on a comment you just made, I realized, oh, this is on the VT Ledge in-house. My phone is State House Public. Is that fine?
It is fine.
Great.
Yes, it is fine. But if you find yourself wanting to be on the VT Lake in-house network, so you can print from your phone, then we are happy to help you there. That is one of the key differences is you have access to internal resources on VT Lake in-house versus the State House
I
Public.
didn't realize we could print here. It had in-house one. Okay.
There's a printer right outside that we use and it can, help anybody.
That one, and there's.
Yeah, I see them. I didn't know that. I see. Okay.
But unless Tony's in the room, Tony likes paper, obviously, it's kind of his thing. We strongly encourage the reduced use of paper. When we first launched, maybe not, I think it was the second year, maybe third year, former Chief Fiscal Officer Steve Klein did an analysis of the cost of iPads opposed to the savings, the realized savings of the consumables of printing, and whether or not there was a real savings to our paperless pilot initiative. And what he found at that point in time was actually quite astounding. That the cost of iPads for 3 years was saved in consumables in 1 year. So the amount that we saved in 1 year of paper products, consumables, printers, maintenance, toner, you name it, we were able to pay for 3 years of iPads, and that included the network infrastructure to support it.
Oh, wow.
Yes, so they're quite a savings. Now, we've eroded into that savings a little bit since then due to the increasing demand of color printing. There's a much more expensive cost per impression on that. So think before you print, just like anything else, black and white is preferred. And if you can double side, that would be great. But otherwise, we try to provide everything digital.
Other questions? Kevin is hard to find, I'm kidding. Always available, or somebody in his staff are always available.
Always available.
So if you have more questions, we can help you. You can find them. Legislative Lounge is the best first stop,
Yes.
and then
If
we'll know where they are.
if you have trouble finding us, let me know and we will adjust. We are going to have a bit of a presence in the card room this year. It's something that we've been wanting for a good while. So the little table that has that glass tabletop on it next to the Capitol Police Rostrum.
Yeah.
We're going to push that out a little bit. We're going to put a chair back there. We're just going to try to show up soon. We're a little busy the first week and a half of session. But it'll get a little bit more predictable, and we're hoping to be there between about 11:30 and 1 each day to have a presence, because it's a great crossroads. Everybody's coming and going through there. We want to be out and available, present. But again, always available. If you ever have a question, let us know. When in doubt, send it to eHelp. Somebody else will pick it up, whoever's most available and most appropriate for it. And just let us know how our services are or aren't working for you. Every time you submit a ticket and that ticket is complete, you'll get an anonymous survey kicked back to you. Feel free to fill it out or don't. But we use that data to improve our services. And the data is quite helpful in making sure that we're meeting you where you need to be.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for the time.
Thank you.
Take care.
Committee, we're done for the day, right? We're done for the day.
Should we be done for the day?
We should be done. If I get to choose, we should be done. We are back on Tuesday at 9 AM here.
Yeah. So it looks like the lineup for Tuesday, then Anna Grace will send this out to the committee, and you'll see it posted on our webpage as well, but Secretary of State will be in at 9. And try to be, much as possible, try to be here for 9 o'clock so we can start on time.
Right, so at 9 here, and then at 10, we
On the
break and we go to.
We're on the floor, well, we'll break at 9:50, so.
I see.
There's 10 minutes for you to get a drink or bath, whatever you need to do, so that we're on the floor on time. And then, we've got floor time and caucuses and lunch, so we're back here again at 1. We'll have Serve, Learn, and Earn with us. Be an introduction to you for what they do. It's 4 different organizations that are under that. They provide a lot of workforce training, development for lower income people, some of them, and in the adult side too. And then 2 will have the Preservation Trust come in and chat with us. At 3, we'll have Commissioner Fitzko from Forest Parks and Recreation.
These are
This is a slight
There's a
change.
change.
they're all tentative, but
Yes. Potentially, the Agency of Agriculture's Working Lands Initiatives at
Okay.
3 PM and at 3:30 Vermont Sustainable Child Fund.
Okay, that's good, that works fine. So as soon as, anytime you see these, you'll get them on your email. If you see invited, that means they haven't confirmed yet. And so check our webpage again on Monday night. It'll tell you that might change and it could be somebody else's. But for the first week and a half or so, we'll be doing this introduction. I suspect that the following week, it will take this bill up. I'm just gonna wait till Tuesday, when Monique's here to make sure, see if she wants to sign on to it. And then get it in the hopper. So it gets introduced next week, we'll get it on the wall and probably start some testimony on that, bring Rick in to go through the bill with us. And then bring some people that were on the task force, come in and talk about it too, the process. And whoever else wants to weigh in on it before we hopefully pass it and get it out, get it over to the Senate, so get that process. Any questions?